When do we get to see you and Rhea Ripley together? Because you've got to play Shinsuke Nakamura to the ring, and that was what a moment that was. Because not
Whew,
only does Shinsuke have like the best music and like the
best
best
song.
entrance, but when you came out to play for him at WrestleMania, what was that like? 3, 4 years ago?
Yeah, 35. So yeah, I guess it
35.
would have been, yeah, wild.
Gosh.
Or was it 34? It
I
was 34. Yeah.
Where 34
New
was New
Orleans.
Orleans? Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
New
Okay.
Orleans. Yeah.
34 then. Because you and Rhea obviously would be a hell of a tandem. When do we get to
Oh,
see
I would
that?
love that. Get me and Ash Costello out, Ash from New
Yes.
Year's Day, who actually
Yep.
sang her theme song.
Mhm.
I would love that. Nothing would make me happier,
Oh my
except
gosh.
maybe giving Becky a new shreddy Celtic Invasion. I would
Ah,
very much enjoy that too.
God, all of these moments. What was that like for you getting to play for Shinsuke at WrestleMania? What was that day like for you?
It was so surreal. It was really because this is another Joshism. This is something that Josh really like willed into existence because we had no connections. We didn't know anybody at WWE higher up. We had absolutely, there was no like, hey, let me call up my friend and tell him this idea. Josh just sort of like got it in his head. He had this vision. He's like, you are going to play this song at WrestleMania in New Orleans. And I was like, okay, like, how are we? And you talk about the doors being kicked down and the door slamming in your face. I mean, like, door after door after door. We went through anybody that, he could think of that he knew that had a connection in the wrestling industry. And then he was so
Who was your
convinced
in?
that
Who was your in to kind of get in there?
we wound up getting to Neil Lowy, who
Okay.
is WWE. You obviously know he's in charge of all the music at WWE.
Mhm.
And it was literally to the point where we were like a week out from WrestleMania, and he was like, "We need to book flights and a hotel." And I was like, "They didn't even text us back. Like, this is not happening. Like,
Oh my
can you just
God.
can you just stop?" He's like, "No, something is going to happen. Like, and we need to be there." And so when Neil finally called, he was like, "Hey, so are you available at this time?" And we don't have a lot of a budget. And I was like, "I'm already going to be there. You don't need to give me a flight. You don't need to give me anything. Maybe a hotel for the night of somewhere nearby." And he's like, "Done, done deal."
Oh my
And if
God.
if we hadn't already had that flight, if we hadn't already been there, who knows? Maybe they would have been like, "You know what? This is too last minute. We don't have a budget for a flight. We'll get you
Had
on the next one."
no idea
Yeah.
that that's how that came together. You guys like
Yes.
manifested that. You didn't even manifest that shit. You just like made it happen. There were
Josh
no
willed
no's.
it. Josh willed it into existence, and he had this vision. And then when Neil called me on the phone, he described this vision of Josh's like exactly to a T. Like he was like, "I have this idea, like of you being in the middle and like him coming down," and like it was a surreal out of body experience of a moment of like, this is so meant to be. This is exactly how it was supposed to happen. And if that's not proof, then I don't know what
Holy
is.
shit. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it was
I
wild.
love that. It's fun. I mean, it's one of those things where you see somebody, I'm like, oh, it's Nita. I mean, she's such a badass. You think that you'd just be able to be like, I'm going to play this person's entrance, is what I'm doing. But to like know that you are still there grinding and making the things happen that you want to happen and that Josh thinks should be happening, and just like showing up, getting the flights, being in the, like, you are setting yourself up for the success of like being in the right place at the right time, but like making damn sure that you're in that place when that call
Yeah.
comes through.
Yeah, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. It's one of my
Yep.
favorite quotes. And
Love it.
if that opportunity had not had come and we weren't prepared, who knows what would have happened, to like on it was definitely less than a week away,
As
like it
a
was.
non-guitar player, it seems complicated to play his entrance. How was, like, you were just learning this on your own, being like, hey, I'm gonna know his song obviously in time to go in to play it. But like, what was learning his song like?
The song is so catchy, and it's not that I would say easy per se, but like it's so catchy. There's not a lot of fast notes. Like it's a melody that obviously everybody can sing and hum
Yeah.
because everybody sings it all the time.
Yeah.
So for me, the more difficult thing was sort of just adapting to a completely different vibe of performing,
Hmm.
to stand out there on the ramp, with 70,000 people and millions watching at home, like, and have it be just me and this huge circle of camera people, which you're obviously very familiar with. Like, it's an
They're in your
intimidating,
face.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
like right up in there, and it's a very intimidating position to be in, especially for the first time. Um, and I remember standing there on the ramp and it was pitch black, and they were doing a video package. So, I had my in-ears in, and the only like they just said I was waiting for the lead camera guy to go like this and point to me to
Stu.
start. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And and then I don't really ever get nervous to play guitar. I get nervous for like regular life stuff, but I don't ever really get nervous to play guitar because that's what I do. That's what I
Yeah.
love doing. But then I started getting really nervous because I was standing there for like a long time. Like it was like a, 2, 3 minutes
Those
of just like,
packages are long. Yeah. Sometimes they're
yes.
like 5 minutes long. You're like, here, let's go.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, I've just been standing here. Like I've been in position, I've been ready, and like staring at Stu, and Stu is staring at me. Like, just like, oh my God, I don't want to miss the finger. Like, and then Renee, out of the pitch blackness, and I had not been announced. Nobody knows who the fuck I am in there. Like, you know, and I was like, are they even gonna care? How's it gonna be? Da, 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 da. And then out of the pitch black, I hear someone go, "Let's go, Nita." And
I just got goosebumps. Oh my
I
God.
was like, ah, and then like just like that one sort of act of like familiarity of like, okay, there's one, like one person here is excited to see me. Like, I have no idea who that person was, but if they are listening to the show right now, just know that you totally made my day, and you are
Oh,
probably the reason that that performance was as good as it was,
I
because
love
it just
that.
sort of allowed me to settle back into my role and go like, oh yeah, this is what I do. Like
That's who
this
I
is
am.
normal. This is normal thing. I am gonna go out there and kick ass because this is what we do, and this is what we always do. We're gonna do the same way that we always do. And it just sort of allowed me to get back into that mindset of like I was so caught up in the unfamiliarity and so caught up in like, we had done rehearsal and Vince had given me a bunch of notes. I wanted to make sure
Oh
I hit them
shit. What
properly and
kind of
like,
notes did he give you? No, Vince notes can be so specific.
they were very specific but very hard to understand.
Mm. Trust me,
Like,
I know how that goes. I'm like, wait, what was that? Can I hear that one
yeah.
again?
So, his main note that he had given me was, he said, I love what you're doing. We ran it once, and he said, I love what you're doing. Yes, yes, so much charisma. Da, da, da. And he said, but when the camera pans over your head, I want you to jump. And I was like, that sounds great. Absolutely. When does that happen? Because I have no idea what's being seen on the monitors. Like, I don't know when the camera, like the above camera is doing that. He's like, when the camera goes over you. And I was like, yeah, okay, got it. But when does that happen in the song? And he's like, when the camera goes over you.
Uh,
And I was like, okay. Like,
oh my God. I can like so
I'm not
picture
gonna
this
ask him a
happening.
fourth time, like, and then I asked Sue, I was like, what is he talking about? He's like, I'll cue you. Like,
Thank God. Thank God
yes,
for Stu. And like
God for
Stu
Stu.
has saved my ass so many times too. And I'm like, what are we doing? And I like get the cue from Stu. I'm like, thank God.
Thank you so much. So then we rehearsed it again, and then I'm like kind of like trying to look at the guitar and look at him like, what are we doing? And then when we did it, and if you guys watch it back, you'll see it's right when the song kicks in. And he's like, I want you to jump. And then I was like, well, how do I jump like on a like an incline?
Imagine
Like,
you bid it and you like fall down the whole ramp, which is like a mile long.
bro, I fall down on stage all the time. Like this is sort of my gimmick. Like this is my everybody knows I trip and fall all the time. Like I don't even drink. I don't even wear high heels, and I eat shit all the time. So like I was like, okay, the only and like I'm not a particularly high jumper compared to the wrestlers that you see who can like fly through the air like a
Yeah.
freaking Cats production. So it's like the only thing I could think of was to jump and then like land in this sort of like Spider-Man crouch thing.
Oh, I
And I
can
was like,
see it. I just pictured it. Yep.
so if you watch back, you will see the jump happens, the Spider-Man crouch lands, the camera flies overhead, and it was like when I watched it back, I was like, it's so interesting to see the mind of Vince McMahon at
Yep.
work because
Yes.
it was so much cooler than just a steady shot of me right there playing guitar. It was this really dramatic moment that he absolutely orchestrated from the absolute get-go. And it was really, really cool
Oh
to
my
sort of be a part
gosh.
of that happening.
What a moment. I just like that was so fun for me to just relive that with you because I'm I'm just like a huge Shinsuke Nakamura fan to begin with,
Me
but I
too.
remember being like, I want to get out there. I was dying to see you play his entrance, and I knew that you were going to be there. And that was, I don't get out there like in the crowd that often during a mania, but I was like, I have to see that. And like, what a
Uh,
goosebumps, awesome moment. So
Thank
cool.
you.
WrestleMania is just the best. I love it.
WrestleMania is like it's unlike anything I've ever experienced, you know, and I've played to bigger crowds than that. I've played to double the size of crowd of that, in fact,
Yep.
like many times. Um, but there is something really incredible about so many people from all over the world, you know, all ages, all races, all sexes, coming together to experience something that everybody's so passionate about. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like if I play, you know, I played at Rock in Rio, let's say with Alice in Brazil, and you have 150,000 crazy Brazilian fans that love Alice Cooper and they're singing every word and like that's amazing and we love it. But people aren't coming from Japan, Europe, Canada, America, like, you know, everybody,
Mm-hmm.
every single state, every single country sort of converges into WrestleMania for this experience. And it's just this like beautiful melting pot that can never be duplicated, I think, by
Yep.
any other industry.
Agreed. Agreed. It really is. I love just like that phrase of like everything is wrestling. Everything comes back to wrestling. Everybody
Yeah.
has some kind of a connection to it one way or another. And yeah, when that moment really happens and everyone is on the same page, it's so cool. It can't be topped.